Hello guys, today we will talk about VPC service controls. Basically VPC service control provide an extra layer of protection to our Google Cloud services such as like cloud storage or BigQuery. Like you have having some sensitive data, so you can use VPC service control. So basically it provides like accidental or targeted action by like external identities or inside their identities, and it helps us to like minimize unwarranted data exfiltration risks from like Google Cloud services such as cloud storage, because like you have a cloud storage in which you have sensitive data and you want to protect it so that no one can access that data from outside your VPC or your project. So we can use a VPC service control, and in that we basically create parameters. So parameter you can suppose a fence in which you will put your like cloud storage or multiple APIs are available like in Google Cloud. You can choose any API which you want to protect, and after that you just create the parameter and specify which specific service you want to protect, and it provides a like extra layer of security, and it is independent of IAM. So you can use IAM also, but if you want more security, that VPC service control is a very good service. And basically it like protect our highly sensitive data, like in which you want to ensure that that data can be accessed from the trusted resources, like from on-prem only or like from some specific IP address only that can access that specific data. So for that it helps us, and it also mitigate like data exfiltration risk, like your organization might want to ensure secure data exchange across organization boundaries with fine-grained controls. So we can use this. So it also provides some security benefits, basically access from unauthorized network using stolen credentials. So if you use VPC service control, yeah, you can block access from unauthorized network. Even they have your credentials available, they cannot access your or like log in into your resources. And we can also use data exfiltration by malicious insiders or compromised code. Even if you have some like insiders or the compromised code, then also no one can access your API or services. And we can also public exposure of private data caused by misconfigured IAM policy. Even if you have some misconfigured IAM policy, which is allowing like public exposure of your private data. So with the help of VP service control, like we can create a parameter across it so that no one can access, even that is exported over the internet via your IAM policy, but still VPC service control block that access. And we can also monitoring access to our services. Like if you have a you want to first check how it like VPC service control will work on your organization, we can create dry run policy. So what will happen? It will just log all the things, and according to login, you can create the multiple parameters. So basically, suppose this is your service parameter. Suppose this is a fence. In this, you are using two, like this is your project, and in which you want to protect your GCS bucket, your Google Cloud Storage bucket, and it has very sensitive data. So what you can do, you will create a parameter. So what will happen if someone, even this is public also, if someone from authorized and unauthorized client try to access from the internet, he cannot access it. If someone from unauthorized VPC project inside the organization, that is a private access, try to access, he cannot access. And again, someone from unauthorized project, again GCP service will not work. VM to GCP service will not work. We will see how all these works. But main thing is that we have to create a security parameter, and in that we have to show like which services you want to protect, basically which services you want to restrict, so that only specific persons or specific IP address or region with traffic coming from there, then they can only access that. It is a very broad topic. We will divide into multiple parts. After that, we have to create a service parameter. This is the service parameter which I am talking about. So basically, it to protect our like Google Cloud resource in your projects and mitigate the risks of data exfiltration, we specify the service parameter at the project or VPC network level. So basically, when you create a service parameter, we have two options. Whether we can choose a project. If you choose a project, it will involve all the resources in the specific project. Like if you want to block like cloud storage or BigQuery in your project, so you can, it will be like for the whole project. And if you choose a VPC network, so it will define only to a specific VPC network only. So you have the option. We will see how this all works, but the main thing is that we have two options, whether we can choose a project or we can choose a VPC network level. Also, we can use VPC accessible service feature. We will see how it works. Basically, if you want to allow traffic inside a parameter, you can use this service. Or if you want to restrict something, we can use this only. This is a specific topic I will cover in later videos. After that, we have the when we create a parameter, we have two options, whether we can put in enforce mode or dry run mode. So basically, what will happen if we put in enforce mode, it will like doing all the while like all that do like all the block access and allow depend on the parameter which you have created. And if it we create in dry run, it only just logs in the logging. So let's see what is in. So enforce mode is the default mode of service parameter. So when a service parameter enforced, requests that violate the parameter such as request to restricted services from outside a parameter are denied. And a parameter enforcement protects Google Cloud sources by enforcing parameter boundary for a service restricted in the parameter configuration. So like also we can create ingress and egress rule. We will see all these how to use this. Basically, if you want to allow some traffic from outside, so for that we can create ingress rule, and if you want to allow traffic to go outside, so we can create egress rule. And an enforced parameter like protect us from data exfiltration, this like stolen credential, misconfigured permissions, or malicious insiders that have access to our projects. So you just remember this is a default mode, and whenever you create a policy, it will go in enforce mode also only. But we have an option to create a dry run mode also. So what will happen? The requests that violate the parameter are not denied first of all, but only logged. So we can check in that our cloud logging and see what is the action of that specific request. And if you okay with that action, then you can put it in the enforce mode. Otherwise, you can just monitor and without preventing any service disruption to your resources. And with the help of we can like determine the impact and preview the impact, monitor requests to our restricted services, and according to that we can create a parameter architecture in our development environment. According to we can create a same environment in a production environment also. So this is all in this service like VPC service control. Just remember the main thing, service parameter, and we have to create access policy also. We will see all in this in our in demo and see how all it works. So let's go to our demo and work on, and let's see how to create a VPC service control parameter. My VPC service control page in my Google Cloud Console. So what happened basically, we have to create a access policy first. So access policy are two types. One is for organization level and one is for scoped policy. For that which we can create for folder or a project. So first of all, we will create a policy for our organization level. We will cover scope policy in further lectures. So let's click on manage policy. So in that we have to we can click on create policy. So there's a warning. So it what it's saying, if an organization access policy doesn't exist for your organization, scope policy that you create at the folder or project level don't work. So we have to make sure that we have at least one access policy for the organization level already exists. If it doesn't, just we have to create it. If you create scope policies directly without creating organization policy, that policy scope policy will not work. So let's click on create policy. After that, we have to provide a name. So we can say like my org policy. You can give any name, and after that, this is if you add projects and folder here, it will become a scope policy. So that we are not adding. We want to create organization policy first, and after that you can create add principals if you want to give some user that administrator role like admin or any role, so he can manage the policy. You can add in that add principals. Yes, I don't want to give anyone, so just I will click on create access policy. So meanwhile, my policy is being created. I want to show you something. So this is my second project in which one VM is running, and this is my first project in which also one VM is there. So if I log in into this VM on the first project, and if I go to here, as of now, if I run any command like gcloud compute instance list, and if I specify the project name, that is my second project, so I will get a response. I am getting a response right now. This is that new VM is running in my second project, and this is this IP 196.77. So this is one the second that is running in my second project. And if I run like a bucket list for my second project, that is also working fine. This is working because I have a IAM role. This specific first project have a service account, and that service account has a IAM role in my second project. So if I come here, so this is the service account which I'm using in my first project, and if I go to my IAM in the second project, you can see already have a editor role. Because of this, I am able to run commands in my for my second project without an issue. So now what we will do, now we'll create a security parameter. So what will happen after that, I'm not able to run any command. It will give me just error because I will just protecting my second project. So for creating a parameter, we have to create a policy that has been done here. After that, we have to click a new parameter. So you have to provide a name like parameter title, like what you want to like we can say secure second project. After that, we have parameter type, regular parameter, parameter bridge. So parameter bridge is like if you want to communicate between two projects. I will create a video on this. It is a separate topic in it itself only. So we will go with this regular parameter first of all. And after that type, it is enforce and dry run. As of now, it is showing us enforce only, but it will create policy for both enforce and dry run. We will see how to create a dry run also first of all, but we cannot choose if that from here. So now let's go to resource to protect. So in that we have to add the resource. We can add VPC networks or you can select projects. So VPC network we will see in next part. In this we will only select projects. So let's like suppose you have a sensitive data in this project and you want to protect this project. You will click on select. I will select like second project and I will add selected projects in this list. After that I will go here restricted service. So I have option which service I want to restrict. I can restrict all the services that is provided by like supported by list weekly service control, or I can add services also. So if you want to restrict any specific service, so it support as of now 179 services. So suppose I want to protect my storage, so I can cloud storage API. I can select that, and after that I can also select like compute API engine, and I can select that also. So I will add two services. So I want that no one can access cloud storage API and compute engine API in my second project. I want to that protect that specific resources from outside. After that, these are the three main options. After that, we will cover all these options in later parts. But I can show you this what is VPC accessible services. So by default, when we like restrict any services, we have option to access that service via private Google access. So if you remember, like private Google access is to access your services via internal IP inside the Google network. And to access these services, we have to enable private Google access on that subnet level also. So if you go inside a subnet, there is an option to enable private Google access. If you enable private Google access, then you can access these specific services. So we have option all services. No service can be accessible over private Google access, or we can say all restricted services, which we have restricted in the previous part, can be accessed over private Google access, or we can even select the services in which we can include all restricted services if you want, or you can just add services which can be accessible only private Google access. Like from your on-prem, someone want to access, you can create this policy like this. After that, we have access levels. We will see how it works. After that, egress policy. This is itself a topic, but we will covering only till here in this part, and we will cover all these remaining topic in next part. So we will click on create parameter. As of now, we will click on like all services. As of now, we will create it leave as default only, and we will click on restricted service and create parameter. So our parameter has been created. Now if I try to access my services from my VM, which is in first project, it will not work. So let's try. Maybe it will take some time. So let's see. See it is, we can see requesting is provided by organization policy VPC service control unique identifier. We cannot access now from outside. It is a like secure parameter in the second project. It is totally secured and we cannot access these two specific services. And if I run bucket list one, so suppose this is my bucket list, and this is also giving me same that I cannot access. This is VPC service, because of VPC service control. And if I try to even if I try to access like G Cloud network one also, it will not work because network is also a part of, as you know, part of compute only. So if I go G Cloud compute networks list, let me copy this. We can see it again, it will not work. So only these two services we cannot access because we have restricted these services in this specific project only. We cannot access it now from the outside also. So now if we want to access our this specific VMs also, so if I click on try to access this my VM in my second project and click on SSH, I will not able to access this VM because I am accessing from over the internet. So it will giving me this error again and again that I connection failed because I am outside of the parameter. So if I want to access this, I have to create some ingress rules that will be covered later on. And even if I go and try to go inside my new VM, it will not work. It will say fail to load because traffic is now coming over the internet. So that's the issue we are facing. Even if I go to my cloud storage also, it's the same issue I will face. So see again in the cloud storage also, I'm getting sorry the server was not able to fill. So basically it is happening because of this. So this is our service parameter, and inside that parameter we have a GCP bucket with sensitive data. Now everything is outside the parameter. This is my client which is trying to access my console. It is coming traffic is coming from the internet. So that is not allowed. And even VPC authorized unauthorized VPC project cannot access, even GCP to GCP service between my projects not working, VM to GCP service will not work. So if we want anything to work, we have to create ingress and out egress and ingress rules. We will cover that in next part. So just make sure if you are adding something in parameter, your access can be broke. So make sure what you are doing. Now, if I remove anything from here, like if I remove Compute Engine API, let's remove so that I can show you one more thing. So let's click on save here. That has been removed. Now, if I go back to my Compute Engine, now I'm able to access my Compute Engine properly because it is now outside of the service parameter. Now, if I click on SSH, it will work properly without any issue. Now I have logged into my VM. If I now try to run like gcloud compute instances list, it will work for me because I have logged in into this specific VM. So it is working fine because I have removed compute API. But if I run gsutil-ls and let's see whether it work or not because it is still in the parameter only. So this is my cloud storage one. So it is also working fine. It is working fine. It is because of my private Google Access. I will show you why it is working fine. And if I show run gcloud compute gcloud storage buckets list, it will also work fine. There is no bucket as of now. Let's click on edit parameter and where we will see why it is working fine. I thought I will cover that in later on, but let me show you. As of now, I am seeing by default all services on the configured virtual IP are accessible using private Google Access. So this is my VM and it is in US Central 1C. So if I go in my VPC in that specific network, and if I go inside my default VPC and my instance is running in US Center 1C, so let's click on subnets. This is my US Central 1. This is the default subnet, and if I go inside that, we can see that here private Google Access is already enabled. Because of that, I am able to access my services. So if I want to deny, I can click on just no services. So after that, I will not able to access this is any services via private Google Access. So if you want to block access from private Google Access, you want just no one can access that is specific services from outside. You want the specific rules to be followed. So you can just block this, create this, do this. And if I go back here now, this is the VM. Now if I run again gcloud bucket list, it will take some time. That's give a minute. So now we can see it is saying the access denied exception because of VPC service control. Now it is not working. So even I have private Google access enabled, then also it is not working. If you want to like change more thing like if you want like only specific restricted services can be accessed by your parameter, you can create more like that. Like if I go to restricted services, you can add VPC accessible services. You can make all restricted services, or you can also use selected services. One thing we can more see, like if I do like now G Cloud Compute instance lists, that will also not work because of this specific VPC service control. And if you want only restricted services can be accessible, you can click on this. So the previous services which we have restricted here, cloud storage API will only work from like private Google access. And if you want to select services, like you want only specific services will work from this like VPC accessible services, or over we can say private Google access. You can add here more services. And you can add VPC network here also. That is a quite complicated. I will cover in next video. After that, what we have left with, suppose let's go back here. And if I click on dry run mode, and here also we can see there's an enforce mode and there's a dry run mode. So whatever policy you create in enforce mode, it will automatically be inherited into your dry run mode. So if we can go inside this, and suppose you want to add some more uh, like add over it, like you want to, as of now as we can see only cloud storage API is being used, but you want to add one more API, suppose compute API. So we can come here and we can go to restrict services and we can click add services, and we can just find out like compute engine API and just select it, add compute engine API, and just save it. It is saving in dry run mode. It will not in enforce mode. So now what will happen if you send any traffic over or try to access your cloud storage like compute API, it will just log the traffic. It will not do anything. So you can just click on audit logs and you can click on go. It will show all the logs. So now suppose if I am here and I will try to refresh this page like my compute API, or I will try to send some traffic over compute API. Now let's do send something, do anything. It will just log. It will not do anything else. Some errors are coming, and we can see what it's saying. Request prohibited by organization policy. So we can check the logs whether it is what request is being blocked, and we can see the service name is compute google.apis, and we can search metadata, all that information if you want to dig out what is happening. We can see details and all that. So requesting being prohibited by this VPC service control, and severities error, and resources, audited resource type, method, all that, and services compute API. Even we can find out like which type of policy is like we have to just figure out the metadata and all that to find whether it is dry run or simple policy. So we can see it is in the inside of metadata, it is saying dry run equals to true. So basically it is just a log, it is just logging, it will not do anything. So we according to that we can find out like it is the traffic is being denied, but like it is passing as of now, but if we enforce it will deny the traffic, and this is dry run equals to true because in the service parameter if you remember we have just enabled compute engine API for the dry run, but in the enforce mode there is only cloud storage API that is enabled. So it will just log all the things, and according to that if you think the traffic is fine, it is blocking the perfect request, it is not doing anything that will hamper your services or make your environment down or inaccessible from something, you can just modify your dry run policy, and according to that once you are satisfied with the results you can make it enforce mode according to that. So this is very basic thing which we have covered in this we have just seen in that parameter. This is very basic thing, but in that next part we will see how to, like if you click on this and we will see more things. And what, like first of all we will see how to use VPC network in second part, which is quite complicated in itself in it. After that we will see VPC accessible services, that access level, that this ingress and egress is very important, so we will go step by step. And after that, we will also see how to create scope policies. As of now, we have created an organization policy, but we can see how to create scope policy. So we have two policy. One is folder level, or we can say organization level folder project. That's where we see that also. So if you have any doubts or suggestions, or you think I have done something wrong, just comment it down. I will try to work on it, or you have any questions or anything, just comment it down. I will try to help you. Thank you very much.